Well, folks, this multi-trillion-dollar Democrat spending package passed by the House this morning will bust America. Look at what is in it. There is a $2.5 billion handout to trial lawyers. There's an $8 billion home heating tax. That'll hit everybody. The media will get $1.6 billion. The media, the highest capital gains tax we will see since the 1970s. And just in case you didn't think the government is really out to get you, the plan calls on hiring 87,000 IRS agents. Nobody likes IRS agents. Think about that. Cowboys Stadium filled with IRS agents ready to go out and target you. And what do we get last night? Well, we get Republican Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy putting on a smoke and mirror show. It was an impressive smoke and mirror show. I'll give him that. I don't know if I could talk for 8.5 hours, and I'm good at talking. He delayed the vote by 8.5 hours by giving an impressive speech, but in the end, for what? Watch.
One-party rule for 1 year has brought us inflation we haven't seen in 31 years. Gas prices the highest it's been since the last time President Biden was down at the White House. Just in the last year, 46 times the school had to be on a shutdown because of cartels and the car chases. You do nothing in this bill for that. I don't know if Speaker Pelosi stays around. Well, the damage that she's doing is a lot.
You know, it actually makes me angry every time I see it. Why isn't he doing that on the steps of the Capitol every single day for the media? Does he think we're dumb? He spent 8 hours when he could have spent 8 seconds recommending the 13 Republican defectors he failed to keep in line. Be punished for this. If it wasn't for his failed leadership, he wouldn't have had to pretend to put up a fight in the middle of the night with nobody watching, by the way. That ended with a Democrat vote this morning to pass the bill anyway. I'm tired of Republicans feigning a fight. I want to see them actually fight. Well, joining me now is Republican Congressman from Georgia and member of the Financial Services Committee, Barry Loudermilk. He's a good friend of this program. He's a fighter. Barry, great to have you on this program.
Well, Grant, it's good to be with you again, in spite of the terrible circumstances that's happening to our country.
Isn't that so true? Look, I like that he talked for 8.5 hours, but where was the infrastructure? When we had this infrastructure bill, we could have stopped this whole thing from moving forward, Congressman.
Yeah, the thing about the infrastructure bill is and we needed infrastructure, but this infrastructure bill was so bad. 2/3 of it was wasted government spending, things that we did not need in this nation, that no one needed. 1/3 of it was infrastructure we needed. Had the 13 Republicans, some of those friends of mine, and I know that they had projects in those, and it was important for their state. But those things that were important were in that 1/3. If they would have just held out and we could have held together, there would have been an infrastructure bill, a better infrastructure bill, and it wouldn't have been a gateway to getting this reconciliation package to the floor yesterday. And so, look, one job I'd never want to be is leader of the Republican Party, because you got to be a type A personality to get into Congress. And on the Democrat side, I think it's a whole lot easier to whip those folks into shape, because Nancy Pelosi pretty much goes out and recruits people who will do what she tells them to do, and if you don't, she will go find somebody to replace you. We've always emphasized, look, no one owns your voting card but you and the people that you represent. So it's a tough situation there. When do you say, look, we've got to have you. You've got to be with us. When you're in a position of leadership, if some of the 13 are, then they need to be there with the team when it's critical time like this.
I would argue, if there was ever a time, this was it. I mean, this massive bill will fundamentally change America. I don't even know. I'm going to ask you, have you gotten to go through it? There's no way you could physically read all 2,500 pages of it, but give me an example of what's in this thing.
Well, that's the thing is, it is so big and it changed so rapidly through the entire process. And this is the same speaker, if you remember, several years ago said we need to pass the bill to see what's in it. I don't even think they know everything that is in the bill at this point. And when you change bills that rapidly, a lot of things are very loosely written.
Let me play you a soundbite from Jen Psaki, the president's spokesperson, about these wild claims that they've been making for months now.
Is the president going to stop saying that the Build Back Better plan does not increase the deficit 1 single cent if we now know that that is not true?
It is true, and I would note the several economists and experts out there. I think you're probably talking about the CBO score,
which Joe Biden himself in 2010 called the gold standard for Democrats and Republicans.
IRS enforcement is not something that there's a lot of experience in the CBO scoring.
Congressman, IRS enforcement, that's the Democrats' answer? Sick the government on good Americans?
Well, they don't get the answer they want, then they discredit the source. I mean, look at just your previous segment. The jury didn't come back with the verdict that they wanted. So then they're going to attack the jury. They're going to attack the system. This is the Democrat playbook. We should be able to say whatever we want, and the truth shouldn't matter. You should only listen to what we're telling you. And when facts come out differently, then they don't know what they're doing. Now, if they would have come back with an answer that they wanted here, oh, yes, this is the gold standard. But this is the problem. There's no one out there believes that when you pass a $5 trillion bill, it doesn't cost anything, especially when there's over $300 billion deficit. It costs.
They really think the American people are buying this stuff. And the good news for us, I mean, if there is good news, if we can make it until 2022, which it's going to be a hard time to make it till then, but I think the most American people are onto this shenanigans, including the Democrats. Congressman Barry Loudermilk, thank you for coming on a Friday night. We appreciate you, sir.
Grant, thank you. We'll hold on. We'll make it.
I know we will, and I know we will when we have people fighting up there. Absolutely. Thank you, Congressman.